According to Jake Claver, a Blackrock Spot XRP ETF is imminent. Now let's launch the video and begin the information. Additionally, there is a lack of clarity on the real mechanism by which the ETF funds enter Spot XRP. In this video, I will explain it to you. I noticed a few remarks below that led me to believe that folks are still not entirely understanding this. Therefore, greater explanation is required. We will do it. This individual is 7-0. If Canary's ETF launches tomorrow morning, do you believe BlackRock would enter the market at the same time as Canary? Or do you believe that the ETFs will roll over time? Once more, I will simply mention the date that they filed the trust in Delaware, which was 2 years ago. Therefore, it would be fascinating. Okay, so to give you a quick overview of what Jake is talking about, a document for an iShares XRP trust was posted on the Delaware Corporation Commission website in November 2023. It closely resembled Gen 1 filings from BlackRock and other cryptocurrency trusts like Bitcoin and Ethereum, with the exception of the asset name and date change. Unlike true BlackRock product releases, the filing was not followed by an original SEC S1 registration, related listing, or legal SEC channels. Despite the Delaware Trust registration remaining available, Bloomberg ETF analysts stated that BlackRock executives denied filing for an XRP trust at the time, raising questions about whether it was a fraudulent application or a preliminary illegal step. Later, Delaware regulators suspected that the XRP ETF file was fraudulent or fake, so they forwarded the case to prosecutors. Do we just say whatever we want now, or do you think Jake is aware of that? I'm not sure. What side are you on, you tell me? Was the filing fraudulent? Was it authentic? Is there anything Jake knows that we don't? Man, I have no idea. I'll let you people handle that. However, an increasing number of community members are stating that BlackRock will not just wait for the BlackRock XRP ETF to launch. The name IXRP sounds good. Therefore, it states that the daily average for IBIT net inflows is an important average that is not only shown in a single strategic number, but also in recent performance. For instance, according to one report, IBIT received 120 million in daily inflows during a recent period, while the US Bitcoin ETF experienced a resurgence. Getting a BlackRock XRP Spot ETF could clearly result in hundreds of millions of dollars in inflows every day, which is exactly what we need to get this party started. Another story mentions cumulative net inflows of approximately 112 million. But, according to Canary Capital, this is a great day for the XRPC ETF with 245 net inflows and 58.5 million in trading volume. Guys, that's a lot of capital. He continues by explaining how the ETF process operates in case you're still wondering why the price wasn't impacted. T+1 tomorrow. The asset will be bought using the net inflows. In other words, the ETFs are on the verge of embarking on a buying binge that will continue once it begins. The way net inflows truly operate is that when investors buy more shares of an ETF on the secondary market, such as XRP, and then sell those shares, the net inflow occurs. Therefore, it is the net inflow if they purchase more than they sell. Issuance of fresh shares. Unauthorized participants construct ETF shares by delivering the necessary basket or underlying securities to the ETF issuer in response to this demand. And what people don't grasp is the capital allocation here. The ETF sponsor receives the proceeds from the sale of these new ETF shares and uses them to buy the underlying assets. Thus, this ETF demand ought to begin to materialize when they purchase the asset tomorrow. It goes without saying that any purchases made on Friday will be postponed until Monday, but this is our main goal. Transfer these markets to blockchain technology. They are open 27 days a year, but as of right now, it is still operating on outdated rails, so tomorrow will be a new day for holders of XRP. So we discuss this, don't we? Investors purchase ETF shares, which lead to capital allocation to ETF providers and the establishment of new ETFs. With that money, the ETF provider buys XRP on the smart spot market. The ETF sponsor purchases the required quantity of actual XRP tokens from major exchanges and OTC desks. To ensure that the ETF is completely backed by the asset impact on XRP in the spot market, this buying is usually done with a short time frame, usually T+1. The demand for genuine XRP tokens on the open market rises as a result of these acquisitions. Additionally, it lowers the amount of liquid that is available if it persists. Since the market capitalization of XRP is determined by multiplying the price by the circulating supply, a rise in spot demand drives both the price and the total market capitalization. Even small ETF inflows could result in significant price increases as capital chases a restricted supply. If sell-side liquidity is outpaced by ETF demand, or if exchange balances are low, therefore, the amount of XRP that remains on exchanges will be crucial. What would happen if we used up all of the available XRP? And I do think that one day people will see that XRP has a far larger use case, and that Ripple and all of their partners around the world will continue with their strategy. And if people begin to realize that cryptocurrency is the financial system's future, what happens if another 100, 200, or 500 million individuals enter the market and want to use Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP? And not much is actually left. The market will rise from 4 trillion to 100 trillion at this point. Are you aware of the impact it will have on the quantity of those tokens accessible and their price? People, in my opinion, underestimate the impact that will result from that. Okay, and according to analysts, ETF inflows could reach $5 billion in the following months, based on the 245 million we witnessed. Canary XRP ETF post highlight, Nate Gerasi adds. Excuse me, but this year's 900 ETFs had the biggest day one trading volume. XRP is at the top. It's the king, the biggest inflows for any ETF on its debut day in 2025. That's the situation. The XRP army saw this coming, but Nate Gerasi and others in the ETF space were unaware of it. On the channel, we have been discussing it for months. It's wonderful to see that people are finally taking notice. Naturally, Bill Morgan congratulated Canary Capital on their success with the XRP CETF come on. Naturally, Bank XRP was thrilled to announce that the Canary XRP ETF launched today with 58 million shares, surpassing the first day's trading. Key benefits of Solana's debut record include quick settlements, a set of settlements, finality, and low fees that give institutions access to tokenized assets, FX solutions, and effective payments. She is a burlux. Please pardon me. I also left a comment. The advantages of XRP have always been cost, finality, speed, and payments. The integration of the asset into an ETF rails provides the same workflows, daily navigation, and audible financials that institutions have been requesting, reducing friction and increasing responsibility. At Swell, Brad Garlinghouse then made a statement on ETFs. This interview followed several of Brad Garlinghouse's on-stage performances. Man, we talked about all of this. Let's play this, even if that was a hectic week. What you should know about sitting here waiting for an XRP ETF, however, Ripple has always made an effort to establish itself as a link between DeFi and conventional finance. Come on, that was quite contentious at some points in our history. Well, in the beginning, Ripple was considered to be similar to the bank coin. I believe that people now understand that creating those connections and collaborating in a positive way is the greatest way to integrate these technology. We've experienced... Okay, let's continue right here. Axelar and the BNB chain did achieve several significant milestones today. Major milestone for Axelar MXRP. It states, over 1 million XRP deposits were made in the first few hours of MXRP's successful launch on the BNB chain today. I was curious as to what this would signify for XRP and its holders. The introduction of MXRP, Axelar's liquid yield token for XRP, is a game changer for the XRP ecosystem, since it enables XRP holders to take advantage of hitherto unattainable DeFi, decentralized finance, and yield-bearing opportunities. I hope that was useful to you. I appreciate you being here. Next time, I'll see you.